The Uncle Gold Podcast. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and welcome back to the Uncle Gold Podcast. My name is Borna Zuber, and I started this podcast with the kind of intent to help people to improve their lives, their careers, and kind of get some useful information from really cool people out there. I'm sure that most of you didn't have a rich uncle that taught you how to get the gold in life, which is kind of the idea behind the podcast. It was inspired by the Rich Dad, Poor Dad book from Robert Kiyosaki. And I just wanted to talk to a lot of people and get as much valuable information out there. And tonight I invited my colleague Nadia Woods. We became really good friends while working in Sigmar. Nadia, welcome to the Uncle Gold Podcast.
Thank you so much, Borna. Thanks for having me on.
It's lovely having you here. I haven't chatted to you in a while now, but I wanted to bring you on because I always loved your energy and kind of the mindset that you were bringing to things. You were always kind of like, yeah, let's go, let's do it. And you weren't kind of, when a tough situation appeared, you weren't kind of stuck in it. You were kind of like, yeah, let's find a solution to it. And I love that. I love that approach to things. Tell me, how are you? How are you doing? And for people just tuning into the podcast, like, can you introduce yourself a little bit, who you are and what you do and where you are right now?
Yeah, of course. So my name's Nadia. I am under 30, we'll say. I started working with Borna in Sigma. During the lockdown, I was put on temporary leave and went and just found another job. Again, like you said earlier, no point in being down or anything like that. You might as well just pick yourself up and move on. I now work for a company called Cash and Carry Kitchens, and I design kitchens for a living. So yeah, it's like, Borna, you know how much time I spend in the kitchen. You know that between your power balls and my chicken wings and baked goods, how much I love kitchens. So yeah, I think in the face of kind of potential recession and losing a job and all the rest of it, I found my dream job. So yeah,
Awesome.
It's just what's meant for you won't pass you by and all that, you know?
Yeah, I think it fits. You always brought even more energy to it during breaks when you had a lunch break and you made something at home the day before and you made like chicken wings for the entire office. And I was like, what? And you're like, definitely try them. And they were delicious. I tried doing them once after your recipe and I kind of messed it up. So they weren't on your level, definitely. So
it's the extra love, you know?
Yeah, I'll have to keep practicing on that one. Tell me, Nadia, how did your story start? Like, let's go back to Sigmar and the recruitment job and all of that. How did you get into it, and how was the transition to the new job? And on this podcast, I presume that a lot of people will join in to kind of improve their careers and everything. Is there some insights you maybe got from the recruitment side there?
Yeah, so I'll start with the first part of that question. I was really unhappy in my job before Sigma. I actually applied with a woman called Jenny. It was actually for a different role. It turns out I'd actually already applied to the company directly. And as you know, if you apply directly to the company and then apply through the recruitment company, they can't pass your CV on. So Jenny turns around and she's like, look, I can't put you forward for that job, but I think you'd be a really great fit for the team here in Sigma. I'll pass your details on to Sean. They were just starting up the European hub in Tralee. So she passed my details on to Sean and the rest, as they say, is history. Mm-hmm. So I started with Sigma in October 2 years ago and helped the team there in a variety of different capacities. You know yourself how the startup kind of vibe of the business meant that you had to adapt and change constantly. And with that, I suppose, came a great deal of learning, for one, and a great deal of growing as well. It was really great to be a part of and to see the company grow as much as it did while I was there, and to see it continue to grow now. I loved my job. I loved the team as well, and was absolutely heartbroken. But at the time, anyway, and don't get me wrong, I still do miss the team. But I'm so glad that it did happen, because I would have never applied for another job. I was very happy in my job at Sigma. So I think, again, it really pushes home that what's meant for you won't pass you by. Like, I know it sounds so cheesy, but everything really does happen for a reason. And if you're going through like a real shit situation, it's supposed to happen. Like, don't let it get you down. Like, just think to yourself that this is just an obstacle that you have to get over. And once you're over it, do you know what? It's so good to be able to look back as well and see. Because again, like, I remember the first kind of week or two, I was incredibly down. I took it very personally. I was like, oh, it must have been that I was bad at my job, or it must have been this or that, or any other number of reasons. And I never actually asked why. I never asked why me. Like, all of the other people that I spoke to afterwards was like, I was very shocked that it was you that went. And but like I said, there was no point in asking why. It had happened. Why dwell on it? It's not going to help me, so why would I do it? That's, I think, something that's very important, that it's taken me a long time, I think, actually, to learn. If it's not going to benefit me in any way, if it's not going to help me move forwards, don't do it. Sorry, I think that's like the first half of the question. I'll be honest, I can't remember what the second half of the question was.
I'm glad that you started with a mindset thing first. It shows a different level of thinking that I think most people would have. We'll go into it later, but let's go into the second part of the question then. A lot of people, if not now because of the lockdown, maybe in the future, or maybe just for their own reasons, are probably thinking of changing their jobs. And being in a recruitment company kind of gives you the background where you see it from both sides, from the candidate side and from the company side. You kind of get to see the interaction of both and the whole process from like a third perspective. Can you give some tips for maybe people that are looking for new jobs and that are maybe thinking of changing their careers or improving their careers, or maybe some of the mistakes that people make when they're in the process?
Yeah, there's so many. I think don't take things personally is my biggest tip. If somebody doesn't offer you the job, don't hit back with a snotty response. Like, there's no need for it. One, two, they are bound to know other people in the industry. So if you set a bad tone with them, and vice versa as well, like if they set a bad tone with you, you're going to go off and tell your friends. They're going to go off and tell other people that they have worked with or will work with. So
no burning bridges.
Yeah, exactly that. Like, don't burn your bridges. Don't take things personally. Try to be as positive as possible. Also, always ask for feedback. Always. You won't always get it, but you can always ask for it. And when people do give you feedback, again, it is not a personal attack on you. It is criticism to help you move forwards. Like, the amount of people who have asked me for advice on their CV, or even since leaving Sigma, like, I've helped so many other friends with their CVs, and sometimes they might get a little bit offended and they might be like, oh, but why, what's wrong with this, or oh, but you know, I've done that. And again, for me, it's not a personal thing. It's, this is what you need to do. This is a set like, not formula, but this is like a set standard to succeed in your job applications. You hit these points, you'll get a job interview.
Yeah.
So hit those points and get that job interview. Don't hit those points, don't get the interview, don't cry to me.
Yeah. I realize that there's a lot of people that write too much text in their CVs. And then when a company looks at that, in the end, we're all human. Like a lot of companies will go just like, I don't have the time to read it. And you basically lost without even being in the game, you know, and a lot of people put too much effort into it. And then they write like 10 pages of a CV. And then companies go like, oh, like, this is not the right move.
I've had to format a few of those ones, the ones that are kind of equal to War and Peace. But no, I think the KISS strategy, you know, keep it simple, stupid. Like you want to give them a nice little morsel, like, oh, okay, what are they doing? Get them intrigued. You want to make it as easy as possible for them to see. So again, like I before working in recruitment, I used to be the biggest waffler in my CV. Like I would write essay, like my degree was in history, so again we tend to be quite flowery with our language, and we kind of get a little bit drunk in our own verbose kind of thing. It's so yeah, like my CV before used to be like a short story, and I don't know how on earth I had a job. I don't know who had the time to read my short story, but so yeah, just you really want to hit bullet points on your key skills, and especially if you're working with technologies, those key technologies that you've used, or else key systems. So like if you've worked in admin or accounting, like, and you've used Sage, you want to include that. Bits and pieces like that is really key. Also, the amount of people that I've seen where they put the about me section at the very top, and they go into their hobbies and their education, and if they've got like 10 years work experience, the education they did 20 years ago isn't as relevant as the work experience. So again, put it in an order that makes sense. Like put it almost in highest priority, like put your work experience almost at the very top. That's what's going to be the headline. Like if a client is having to scroll through a CV trying to find the information, they're going to get bored and they're going to press X, and that's your chance gone. Yeah, you want it to be eye-catching. The other thing as well is the amount of people who don't put enough effort into their CV in terms of the aesthetic.
Yeah. How important is that?
I think it's very important. I think that, don't get me wrong, it doesn't need to have 1,000 pictures or whatever in it, but it takes 2 seconds to upload your CV to something like Indeed, and it automatically does it for you, where you can download it and it formats it nicely for you. It just makes it look like you've put a bit more effort into your CV. I'm more likely to look at it. I know that sounds bad, and well, I'm not in recruitment anymore, but like when I was, it was like you want to have the information easy to see.
Yeah, of course.
You want it accessible. I don't want to have to try and read a dissertation's worth of CV to see whether or not you have the right experience for the job.
Yeah, exactly. Then the second part would kind of be, so somebody nailed their CV. Now they improved it. They listen to the Uncle Gold podcast, right? They get their all the right answers here, and they improve their CV. They get the interview. What's kind of the tips that people could use maybe for nailing the interview better? Like I'm sure that can be useful for a lot of people, because some people can write a good CV, you know, but then talking to a person directly is a whole different game.
Yeah, I think doing your homework is the biggest tip that I have. Make sure you've researched the company, know what their kind of unique selling point is, know who their competitors are, know where they are as a business. Like what I used to do before a lot of interviews that I've done in the past is check to see, okay, are they a privately owned or a publicly owned company? if they're publicly owned, or if they are on the stock market, how well have they been doing recently? Have they taken a bit of a nosedive? Do I want to work for that company if they have taken a nosedive? If they're doing very well, I'll make sure that I say that. If, I don't know, there's other things as well, like if you can see that they have won a lot of awards for how they treat their staff. So like, I know that Sigma did very well in terms of being a medium-sized business, treating their staff very well, basically. So again, like, that is a place that you want to work. I think the other thing is making sure you know your value, know your worth, and know your CV inside and out. Again, like, if you've sent off a CV saying how fantastic you are and then you can't remember it, that's going to make you look a bit silly.
Yeah.
So just make sure you know your CV, make sure you know exactly what the job is that they're asking you to do, and that you're fully signed up for that. And again, just make sure that expectations are clear on both sides. So again, like, I've been to job interviews in the past where the actual job that they were advertising wasn't necessarily the same as the job that they were putting in front of me. To which, again, like, I knew my worth. I wasn't going to go burning bridges, but at the same time, I stopped the interview early and said, look, I'm sorry, but this isn't the job that was advertised. I don't want to waste your time. I don't want to waste my time. We'll call it a day there. So don't be afraid to, I suppose, say no as well. That's one actually that I need to pay a bit more attention to. I'd always say yes and yes and yes and yes, and it can become tiresome.
Yeah.
So
I
know
noticed
when
that
to say
it's
no.
also like a thing of practice. And at one point in my life, I was looking for a new job, and then I was like, all right, I literally don't know how this works. I want to figure it out. And then I applied to like 10 companies at the same time. And, you know, like on the first interview, you're like very stiff, very like formal. So on the 8th, you're like, all right, so what
I
can
know
you
this.
offer me, right? Yeah, and you kind of have a completely different approach to the whole interview, and you talk differently to people. So I believe it's important to not just go for the one unicorn ideal company that you want, but maybe also put in like 1 or 2 practice interviews, or maybe just like talking
Practice
to
with
a
a friend.
or
Exactly. Yeah, like I said earlier, in terms of making sure you do your homework, that isn't just limited to the company. Like, there are so many other websites out there. Like, you can look on Crunchbase, and you can look on Glassdoor and things like that, and you can get tips, and they will tell you like what they have for the interview process. Like, you can see what questions people have been asked, and then go away and prepare your answers. Like, there are certain answers that usually come up in interviews as well, like the style questions. You know, there's a situation, how did you tackle it, you know, what did you learn, and things like that from it. There are always like, what is your best feature, or what is your best quality, what is your worst, like, what is the quality that you need to work on? Like, questions like that you can definitely research and kind of construct in advance. So, I mean, there's nothing worse than going for an interview and being unprepared. Again, I remember when I worked in Santander, this is before I had any kind of recruitment experience, and I was applying for this position, which was kind of like a high end. It was for like the more wealthy customers, and it was better money than the job that I was working. So the chap asked me, he's like, okay, and why would you like this job? And straight up, without missing a beat, I was like, it's more money. It's more money. I would like to be paid more. And he was like, oh, right. Anyway, a few months passed, and I end up helping Santander with a job drive. And I'm working with the guy who did my interview and this, that, and the other. Anyway, the whole day goes on. And I actually bring up my job application to him, and he was like, I don't understand why, like, I had come across so badly in that interview, but then in person had come across so well. He was so confused how I could come across so bad in the interview. And I think that is the perfect, I suppose, like, epitome of if you go in unprepared, you're almost not doing yourself a justice.
Yeah.
Like not doing your homework, it can really, really put you on the back foot. So please, 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 please research your answers, research the company, go in eyes wide open. Because that's the other thing as well. Like if you don't do your homework on the company, and again, like they've taken a right nosedive the last 2 years off the stock market, or they've actually got a load of complaints on Glassdoor about how bad they are as a company to work for. Or if there's, I suppose, a ton of customer reviews about how terrible the product is, you know, like, don't apply for that job. Like you're wasting your time.
Yeah, exactly. I agree on that one. Let's transition into the job that you're doing now. Like it's more sales focused as I understand it.
So it's a combination of sales and a creative element, which for me is the dream. I literally get to spend my day dreaming up kitchens for people, and I get paid to do it.
If somebody
It's
told you
just,
that 10 years ago, you wouldn't believe them.
no, I wouldn't. I'd be like, but what do I have to do? Whose soul do I have to take? Like, no. Yeah, it's a combination of sales and creative. So yeah, between my sales background and my creative nature, it's the dream.
I also have a feel that on any job, especially in sales jobs, like if you don't believe in the product, you're going to have a hard time selling it. That happened to me a while back. I was in a tough spot and I was like, I need to learn sales, you know, like I felt like I needed for life, not just for the next month or two. And I was like, I'm going to accept the first sales job that accepts me, right? So I went into telecommunications.
Oh, right.
Yeah, and they're basically selling tariffs for phones and like options and plans. And I basically believe that telecommunications should be free, right? Then they were selling like sports packages on TV, which like you get like 50 channels with football and soccer and like. First of all, I didn't own a TV at that time. I still don't own it. Like I threw it out of my life, and I didn't like none of those sports. So like the guys were like, yeah, you can vibe with customers so well. You just start talking about soccer and like have you watched the match? And I'm like, all right, we might have a problem there. And just
Yeah.
like the list of things where I don't fit into the description of that job goes on and on. Plus, it was a door-to-door sales job. So I learned so much and I'm super grateful for that job, but that wasn't the right product for me. Like it definitely wasn't.
I did something similar as well. Like my first sales job, was door to door. It was commission only. I sold charities.
All right.
So basically I would get people to sign up and then I would get a small commission from that. If I didn't get any signups for the day, then I wasn't paid. So I didn't sell, I didn't eat. So I did quite well at that for 6 months. And then I moved on to an events campaign in London. And much like you with the telecoms, I didn't believe in the product. It was high interest credit cards for people with lower credit scores, and it didn't sit well with me.
It didn't make sense, right?
Yeah, this is it. Like I think I tried to buy into the product, but it was giving people a second chance, and I only lasted maybe a month on that. I lost money working that job because I would pay for my commute in, I would pay for my lunch, I'd pay my way across London, but then I wouldn't sell any of these credit cards. So yeah, with that whole 6 months of my life was essentially a pyramid scheme that I didn't realize I was a part of. So yeah, naive little Nadia, 23 years old, in a pyramid scheme and doesn't know it. Yeah, I was so dumb. But like they really do, like they sell you your hopes and dreams, and oh yeah, you'll open your own office and you'll be your own manager, and oh, think of all the stuff you can buy. Yeah, exactly. Financial
you can make
freedom.
millions in a few years.
The 4 F's, you know, what are your 4 F's, your motivators? And to be fair to that job, I learned so much and it built me up as a person.
Yeah.
It really did build my character. Like before that, I was a nervous wreck of a woman. Like I was just, before that job actually, I was on a grad scheme with a retail brand, and every Wednesday without fail I'd be in the toilets crying without fail. And then I did this door-to-door job, and it just built me the thickest skin.
Mm.
Like you really, I lost a load of weight doing it as well. Well, walking 12 hours a day will make you lose pounds like there's no tomorrow.
I did as well.
Between that
Yeah.
and the 6 energy drinks you'd have a day, do you know, you'd be buzzing off of caffeine, and
Or
then
5 coffees. Yeah.
yeah, exactly.
And it was in middle of July with 35 degrees in
Degree heat,
Croatia.
yeah.
I had
Oh
such a
no.
beautiful tan.
See, I started mine in January and finished it up by kind of June, July time. And I was doing door to door in Aberdeen in -5 degree weather.
Mhm.
Like, again, that builds character. It builds character quick enough, do you know?
Yeah.
And yeah, don't get me wrong, I wouldn't do it again, but I'm very grateful for what I learned whilst working there. A lot of, I think this will probably bring in quite nicely, like, whilst I was working there, I learned a lot about personal improvement and personal development. I was kind of almost set homework, which is where like they told me about Rich Dad Poor Dad. They told me about how to win friends and influence people, the 10x rule, I can't think, there's like a few other books like that, which I would have never read or given the time of day to before that job. After that, I started working in telecoms in B2B. Every sales job actually I've had after doing door-to-door and commission only, when I say that I did that, the jaws almost drop a little bit. They're like, oh, you did door-to-door. Oh Christ, you know, you must, oh. Tell me your ways. No. But it's just, yeah, I wouldn't do it again if I was paid, but I'm glad that I did do it. But yeah, I lived with my uncle for a bit whilst doing the telecom sales. That was quite a, to be honest, speaking completely candidly, that was quite a low point for me. I'd just done the door-to-door. I'd had that kind of dream popped. I'd fallen out with quite a lot of my family over it, because they'd obviously tried to tell me that I was in a pyramid scheme, and I was like, no, I'm not. I would know if I was. Yeah, spoiler alert, I didn't. But no, anyway, my uncle calls me up and he's like, look, there's a job opening here. I think you should apply for it. There's a lot of great perks. You can come live with me until you get yourself back on your feet. And yeah, I spent 6 months kind of trying to get to my feet and falling over a lot. And then I decided, you know what, I think I need a clean slate. My mum had moved over to Ireland 4 years before that.
So wait, before you continue with that, you actually did have an Uncle Gold?
Well, he wouldn't necessarily be made of gold. His name was Uncle Ray, so I mean, like, son Ray. No,
yeah, all right.
Yeah, but I lived in his office for like 6 months, and again, like, I'm so grateful that he gave me a roof over my head. Him and his wife made sure that I had a meal on my plate. They really took care of me in what was a very difficult time. I just come out of quite a long relationship as well, so like there was a lot kind of pushing me down, do you know? So yeah, no, Brexit happened as well, which was top notch. So after that, I was just like, do you know what, I need a fresh start. Moved to Ireland, and it's just been the biggest self-improvement journey ever since. Like, I think if I went back 4 years and told my past self where I would be now, I wouldn't believe it. Yeah.
I have the same feel. I think moving to a new location, and I've spoken about that with Vlad, moving to a new country, new location, it just shifts your perspective so much that that in self is like a self-development scheme, right?
Yeah.
Because it changes everything so drastically. You don't see it at first, but after a while, looking back, you really do kind of see a positive impact. And I would definitely recommend a lot of people like taking on more jobs somewhere else or traveling more, at least. Like it kind of has the same effect. Like I noticed that when I was younger, I used to do a lot of trips with my parents. They had friends all over the place, so they were like, all right, this weekend we're going there. This family invited us for lunch, and it's like half of the country away. So what are we going to do? Like, well, we'll just stay at their place, right? And spending 2 days somewhere, you kind of get to know even though it's the same country or a different country, you kind of get to know the culture. You see the whole like day cycle of a family living there, and especially if you stay at their place, like you get to see it more in kind of like a relaxed feel. And we did it a bunch of times, so I kind of shifted my perception when I was younger. And I noticed when I tell stories to people that don't do that were kind of always living in one place, never going to places, never traveling, it's kind of a different perspective of things. What I find is that people don't expose themselves to a lot of these changes. Their mindset is a lot more rigid. It kind of stays in one place, and it's harder to assimilate new ideas. And the best
Yeah.
thing you actually get from moving is that you develop a more flexible mindset.
That's very true. I think that if you are kind of stuck in a rut and you are doing the same thing over and over and over again and expecting different results, then you are going to drive yourself insane. So something needs to change. And for me, I think location is something you can change, or job even. Like there's only so many times you can dye your hair before it falls out, you know. It's I think, yeah, like you said, changing location is a huge thing. And such a drastic location change as well. Like before I moved here, I was living in Brighton, and before that was London. It was always big cities, and then I moved to the middle of nowhere in Kerry. I moved to Lizelton, which is this tiny, tiny little village outside of between like Ballybunion and Listowel, and that's a huge difference.
Mm.
Like massive.
You mentioned when working in sales that putting in the reps was something that's very important, like going through a lot of these things where people like maybe I phrased the question wrong. Going through a lot of stuff kind of builds thick skin. Like
Yes.
is there anything else you would recommend to people who might try their career in sales or try to switch over their job there? Like, what would be kind of some useful tips for someone in that direction of jobs?
I think again, like my biggest thing is don't take things personally. Like, excuse me, a lot of sales is getting no's, and I think if you take that personally, you will quit the job within a matter of weeks. Don't take the no's personally. I think a big thing in sales as well, believe it or not, is being organized. Occasionally you will get these I can't think of what they're called, but like these mad salesmen who just know from the top of their head exactly what's going on. And I admire those people, and I wish I was one of those people. But if I was not organized, my sales would be shit. Organization is key. Yeah, organization is massively key. So yeah, I'd say don't take things personally. Organization is key. Don't be afraid to overturn as well. Like someone might say, so someone might say no, first of all. They might give you a reason why. Don't be afraid to kind of say, look, I sympathize or I empathize with you, but don't be afraid to push back on them. Like just because someone says no once, it doesn't mean that it's a no in the case of sales. If someone's like, oh, I don't know, like say for example in recruitment, okay, I don't know if I'm ready to move country. Okay, I understand how you feel. I recently moved country myself, and it can be scary. It is scary. It's a huge risk. But if you don't take that risk, you don't know what's on the other side for you. You don't know what you're missing out on. So what's the harm in applying for it anyway? Oh, okay, yeah, you're right. Or actually, no, do you know what? I'm really not paying for that.
Yeah, but on second thought, they might change their opinion, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Like, so yeah, don't be afraid to overturn. Remembering people's names and spelling their names right, it actually holds such a power. I think taking a genuine interest as well, building genuine personal connections to people. Like the amount of customers that I have that will come through and I'll hear an accent and I'll say, oh, where are you from? Oh, actually, the amount of people I've actually had from my home county is crazy in Kerry. I didn't realize that there was a mass English diaspora actually moved over to Kerry. But you create these personal connections. Oh, okay, you're living in Arthur. I used to teach acro over there. Or, oh, you're living in Tralee. How do you find that? Yeah, I love this coffee shop. Building genuine connections with people will make you more likable, and people will buy from you if you remind them of them. You buy from people who,
right?
yeah, exactly. People will buy from you if they are reminded of themselves. If you are very much like them, and if you can connect with them on that personal level, you are more likely to close that sale. Just be genuine as well. People can sniff out fraud from a mile away. If you're being disingenuine, nothing will turn people off quicker. So be genuine and be yourself. If you're not yourself, again, people are going to think that there's something off, and they won't buy from you. So just try and be yourself as much as you can, or as much as you're willing to let out. Don't get me wrong, that doesn't mean that I'm doing laps around the showroom doing cartwheels or whatever, but I am a degree of myself to customers.
Yeah, I feel the same way. A lot of the times I would chat to a company and keep it very formal, very professional, and talk about all the corporate things that are very interesting, right? But then at some point it kind of feels like you're missing that human part, and then when you transition into it, people catch on it like fire. They're like, oh yeah, you're into Japanese anime. Wow, yeah, my kid at home watches Japanese anime. They're really into this and that. And it's kind of funny that usually after a month, that's the only thing that stays in their mind, because it's kind of different, because it's personal, and they attached a specific thing to a specific new face, and it creates an emotion, right?
Exactly.
Because a lot of pitches can be similar, and especially when you're dealing with a lot of pitches or a lot of CVs or a lot of customers and all that, it can sometimes seem like it's all the same. And then just being you and being genuine can kind of go a long way.
That's very true. I think being you're the only you. I can't remember if that's Dr. Seuss or if that's from Winnie the Pooh, but you're the only you, so be the best you can be. Do you know?
Yeah.
It's don't try and conform to the usual, oh, everyone else is sending out this pitch, so I need to send out this pitch. No, because everyone else is sending out that pitch, so they're going to have already had 1,000 of that already. Be you, be different, be unique. Set yourself aside from the usual noise and the usual crowd. No one can be you better than you. So
yeah,
I don't think I can say you any more than that.
It's all about you, right?
It's all about you, exactly. But yeah, so I don't know.
I agree 100%, Nadia, and I think you touched on the next topic that I wanted to go into next, which is kind of tied to social media and being fake. I personally felt that effect a lot in high school, where a lot of people were kind of searching for themselves and weren't kind of sure on who they are, and we're kind of struggling with being you, right? So
Yeah.
they were trying to be them. um, I think Instagram and social media like that kind of emphasize that effect. And as a person, if you're not kind of in the right place, it can be a very like a chaotic place even.
It can be
What's
a
your
very
thoughts on social
harmful.
media? I know that we had conversations on it earlier, and I definitely wanted to chat to you about that.
I think it is a double-edged sword. Like, I'm going to talk about the harms first, and then I'll probably talk about the positives. But
Sure.
like you said, I think if you're not in the right headspace, then it can be a very negative place. Between looking through Instagram and seeing everyone just posting all the positive aspects of their life. Excuse me, sorry. Yeah, between them only posting the positive aspects of their life. Things like, new cars. Oh, I've just bought a house. Oh, look at my amazing body that's definitely been photoshopped and definitely got 10 filters on it. But, oh, hashtag no filter. Like, between that and between the trolls and the online hate and the comments, and between the even darker, nastier places on the internet as well.
Mhm.
Like, there is a lot of room for negativity on there. But I think if you are aware of that and don't take that personally, again, like, I know I keep hitting that message home, but if you know that, like, the trolls that are commenting are doing it for attention, they're doing it for a reaction, they're not doing it because they genuinely feel that way, like, grand. If, like, you are aware that people tend to only post the positive on their social media, like, that's something that I'm quite conscious of as well. Like, I have a little, this is a shameless plug here, but I have a little food blog, The Layman's Cook, and I do try and post food that doesn't always look super pretty or
Mhm.
super grammable. I want to post food that is realistic as well, because so many people are quick to edit that out of their social media. They want to keep up appearances and give the impression that they have this beautiful, perfect life. And life isn't perfect. Life is messy. Life is chaotic. And I think if you just look at social media, you're doing yourself a disservice.
Mm.
I think there are a lot of people out there. I'd follow the likes of Stacey Solomon. And again, she's fantastic for showing, like, she'll show cellulite. She'll show, like, she spent like 3 days making this bloody cheesecake, and she didn't have enough custard cream to put on the outside. So she just put a random cookie in there and posted that. And it's like little bits like that where it's like, it's not perfect, but she's still posting it. Like, she's a human being. Of course,
Yeah.
she's not perfect. Like, again, there's so many other influencers out there as well. I know that we spoke quite a lot in the past about Gary Vee.
Yeah.
And again, like, I think he really hits home quite well how, like, there's 20-year-olds out there who are trying to grind for their perfect career, and that they're out there getting these BMWs and the newest car, and trying to get on the property ladder so early. But it's such a big mistake, because, again, like he says, you're most creative, you have the least amount of baggage, the least amount of responsibilities in your 20s. Like, that is your time to try on a few hats and see what suits. Like,
Mm.
if I was still in whatever job I was doing when I first left university, I'd be bloody miserable. I'd still be in the UK.
Mm.
Like, I just, your 20s are about taking risks. And I think sometimes when you look on social media, there is such a pressure to be successful before you're 30. There's such a pressure to have a perfect life at such a young age, to be successful and to be wealthy, when that's not the reality at all.
Yeah.
But on the flip side of that now, um, social media brings people together. It can be a fantastic place for creativity, like the likes of TikTok and this whole new wave of dancers and creativity and platforms. Like, also in terms of, like, Pinterest, even, like, a lot of my ideas for kitchens come from Pinterest. Like, it's incredible. and again, like connecting people, like for me, I still speak to a lot of friends back home using social media, and again, that wouldn't be possible. That it opens up so many lines of communication and so many positive platforms as well. So again, like even the likes of YouTube, like finding self-help and personal development materials are so much more readily available now more than ever because of social media.
Exactly.
You know, I think while social media can be dangerous, I think it does bring more benefit than not.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I agree. Yeah, I definitely agree on there being a lot of people who are trying to be. Gary really puts it well. He's like 20-year-old life coach. Like, you haven't lived yet.
It's so true though. And again, like I know I'm in my 20s as well, but I am.
All right, not Johnny.
just
I
just
passed
about.
I had my 30th birthday just 2 months back. So, no, 4 months back. I don't know even what month it is.
It's easy to lose track when you're in
Yeah,
lockdown.
I had my birthday this year. I didn't miss it.
At some point.
At some point, it was there. It was there. I clearly remember it. Yeah, I highly agree with what you said, and especially resonated with me when you said about people showing imperfections. I love that, and I also include that in videos as well. I think that a lot of people actually don't finish their video or their product or picture or whatever they're working on because they're so infatuated with the idea of super perfection or
Yeah.
too perfect, right? That they never get it done. And or they spend too much time in production and just waste time, right?
Yeah.
And then they'll get the effect of half of their audience like, oh, this is just like no filters, right? Actually, it's too many
Yeah.
filters, and people would have preferred to watch something that's a lot more simpler, a lot more natural. And
Raw.
I noticed, I don't know if you know the YouTuber Content Bug or Catherine Manning. She is really good. She's explaining a lot about how to create a successful YouTube channel and how to make money doing YouTube. And you could see that for the last year she was doing like everything with makeup and everything, and in the last few months she started like doing like, yeah, this is the no makeup video, and she kind of relaxed into the idea of not having everything perfect. It's like no cool background, no special effects, no
Yeah.
nothing, just like a normal video that looks like she shot it from her phone, right? And next video she reviews it and she's like, I got a lot of really good feedback on that one. And a lot of people really said like, I connected to you on that video more than on any other video, right? So they learned
Yeah.
a lot and they got a lot of info, but they connected more on that type of video, right? Because in the end, again, we're all human. We want that human connection where we see like, oh, there is a flaw there, right? There is something,
Yeah.
and I understand that people love to see perfection and everything being nice and orderly and even better, but I think we need both, and
Yeah.
that we need kind of honesty and truth, like if you're in a good spot, like, okay, show it, yeah, like nobody minds that. If you're in a bad spot, yeah, you might share it, you might not, but like the truth will set you free. And I know it sounds cliche and religiously, but that's kind of how it is. Like I think that a lot of people make the mistake of being what they're not, and especially being something that they're not happy with, right? Like
Yeah.
if you're fake it till you make it, like I believe that works to a certain extent. Like I do believe it works, but only if you're aiming in the right direction. A lot of people try like, oh yeah, cool cars, right? That will get you
Yeah.
girls, right? But they don't even like cars, right? And then they aim for a car to get something else, and they kind of miss the target, right? So yeah, I think it's still kind of evolving, and I do feel that, as you said, getting the creativity out there is a brilliant thing. Like I noticed a lot of people started kind of their passion projects during this whole lockdown thing, where
Yeah.
they started drawing or started. A friend of mine, she didn't draw for like 10 years, and then she just walked into a arts and crafts shop and bought a canvas and some paint, and she's like, oh, I'm gonna paint during lockdown.
I
And
had something
now she has
similar.
a Instagram profile with, that doesn't matter how many followers, it's not that much compared to some other ones, but she got a lot of people messaging her like, can you make me a picture, I'll pay you for it. And she's earning some extra cash on the
Very
side,
good.
like without doing anything outside of her hobby. Like she would have done the paintings anyway, right? And
Yeah.
thanks to social media, a lot of people see it. Some of those people contact her, she gets a positive, like a financial reward for creating, and she's doing a really good job. Like I can send you the link. Like it looks really good. So I think that social media is doing a really good job of putting people on the spot who kind of have a really good skill, or are doing the job right,
Yeah.
but of course, yeah, it's a balance,
This is it. I think like a lot of people, just to go back to your point earlier as well, a lot of people are almost scared to put videos out there because it's not of the same production value of videos of a similar vein. But I think just do it. Just put the first video on there and do it. Like once you have your first video, I say this like I have a load of YouTube videos up, I don't, but like in terms of your social media content, like it took me years to actually do a social media profile for my cooking. Like I've always liked cooking, but I've never put it out there until a few years ago. And then I stopped posting for a long time until the lockdown, and then I suddenly had all this free time on my hands, and I could learn how to spatchcock a chicken. I could then, try a few different recipes. I could then make my own pasta, stuff that I wouldn't have had time to do before. So it like the lockdown has actually been a quite a good thing. I know that obviously there's a lot of death and a lot of, I suppose, negativity that comes with it, but the lockdown has got people back to their roots, back to what their passions are. And
Mhm.
quite similarly, I went out and bought a load of arts and crafts stuff. I went out and bought um more wool. I went out and bought a load of easels and paint and things like that. And granted, I've used the paint once, but that's neither here nor there. I actually started doing, do you know the Jenga? Like I painted a few Jenga sets and made them into drinking games for friends for their birthdays.
All right.
So like bits and pieces like that where I wouldn't have bothered doing that before. I wouldn't have put that much effort.
Jenga, the building blocks.
Yes, yes,
Yeah.
yes. So
Mhm.
I got a plain set of them, and I painted them and then wrote different rules on them and then made them into a drinking game for friends for their
Awesome stuff.
birthdays.
Awesome stuff.
So little bits like that, like, again, do you know where I got that idea? TikTok. Again, people being creative and sharing it on a
Yeah.
social media platform, inspiring other people.
Yeah. That's awesome. Nadia, who are the people that inspire you? Who are like you mentioned Gary Vee earlier and a few people, but is there someone that you would recommend to people who are just joining the podcast, who are thinking of kind of improving their lives? Who would be kind of the people you would direct them to?
My nan, no. If I wish my nan had social media because, well, like actually used her social media correctly, because she's just the cutest little soul. And whenever I'm down, it's her and my granddad that I call, and they're always the first people to put me up on my feet.
Hmm.
Now, that's not a viable option. So
Unless we make a YouTube channel for your grandma.
unless I try and, to be fair, trying to get her on FaceTime is one thing. Trying to get a YouTube channel out of her is something completely different. But I think the likes of Gary Vee, he's huge. He's fantastic. I think there's a lot of other people who they're not necessarily huge on social media or anything like that, but like Maya Angelou is just an incredible voice.
Say it
And
again.
Maya Angelou, she's a she was a writer. She did a lot of poetry, a lot of literature.
Mm-hmm.
But for a long time in her childhood, she was mute.
Hmm.
she experienced childhood trauma, and she thought that her voice was something negative. And just listening to her story and the way that she writes is just stunning. She's an inspiration. Honestly, I encourage you, if you've not seen her before or if you don't know her story, check her out, because it's incredible. Eric Thomas as well. He's more on the sports side of things, but he does some fantastic motivational videos. Will Smith, even.
Yeah.
Arnie as well. Arnie. Again, like, these are all people that that do fantastic motivational talks. I think away from that as well, I'm going to mention this guy as well, and he's a guy that I love to hate, and he's someone that actually causes so many arguments between me and my boyfriend. Jordan Peterson. My other half worships the ground that he walks on, and sometimes I hate him, and I can't put my finger on it, because he's a very, very intelligent man, and I understand sometimes what he says, and a lot of what he says gets taken out of context, but at the same time I hate him. So but again, like, he does quite a lot of talks. Who else? Stephen Fry as well. Like, I'm reading Mythos at the moment I say reading and for fun, but I'm trying to get through it. It's very well written. It's just trying to find the motivation to kind of pick up a book and read. But again, he's a very intelligent man. He's just, again, he's battled his own demons in the past, you know. Incredible. Just really, really clever.
Awesome stuff.
I feel like I've really unbalanced the scales there. I've said quite a lot of guys and not very many women at all. I've been very bad.
One comes to mind that I can recommend to maybe. I'm 100% sure you'll love her, and I get the 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 countdown from her at the start of the podcast. So her name is Mel Robbins. She's not Tony Robbins' wife.
Okay.
It's a different Robbins family.
Different Robbins.
That's basically the same question I had from my friend that introduced me to her. I was like, oh, that's Tony Robbins. He's like, no, it's not.
No.
And I'm like, oh,
easy mix up. Cool. She does motivational speaking as well. So
yeah. I heard that she does a lot more one-on-ones. Tony does more 1-on-10,000s. And
bigger commission, you know. Sorry. There's one more person that I forgot. Jane Fonda. Jane Fonda is my hero. She's not so much on the she wouldn't be like a motivational speaker in the way that like Tony Robbins or anyone like that is, but she's a kick-ass woman. She just absolute badass. Yeah.
All right.
Amazing. Sorry, almost forgot her. How could I forget her?
Worries,
Jesus.
No worries. We'll note it down, definitely. Basically, Mel Robbins was in a tough situation in her life, like marriage going nowhere, kids, debt, the whole shebang. And one evening she watched a launch of a NASA rocket into space, and they had a countdown of 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, right? And then she decided that the next morning she's going to wake up on time, because for the last like a few years she was snoozing for an ungodly amount of time. And the next morning she woke up and she's like, oh no, like not again. And before pressing the snooze button, she was like, you know what, I'm gonna start. And she just like went like 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. She got up and started her day a lot sooner. And then another obstacle came, like, oh, I need to make breakfast for the kids. And she's like, I'm just gonna count down and 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 and go and start doing it. And she basically found a shortcut, because you kind of condition your brain to go into go mode in the next 5 seconds, right? You don't give yourself options. If you count up, there's always like a higher number to go to, right? So
Yeah.
you can always go somewhere, right? But if you're counting down, like zero's right here, right? And there's no zero, there's just a go. And it doesn't give you an option. It throws you kind of into it, and it's easy to create a habit out of it. And she wrote a book on it. It's called The 5 Second Rule, and it became an international bestseller in a very short period of time. She then did a TED talk on it, and that made her world famous. And now she's just all over the place, and she's kind of expanding on that idea. She's brilliant. You'll love her. Definitely check her out. She has a great way of talking. She kind of reminds me of J.K. Rowling,
Okay.
but she has her own like flavor and style. And you can, when you're listening to her, you can just like hear the confidence, the confidence that she commands
Yeah.
now, right? And you can see from the story that she didn't have it all the time, right? But basically she improved her life, and it's a great story, you know. So yeah, we'll make sure to include the link down below.
Thank you. I definitely need that. I definitely need to check her out.
Yeah, she's cool. Tell me, a lot of people in this self-development area go into like thoughts and ideas, and then they go into like things that you should basically do on a daily basis to improve your life. Do you have kind of like your own day-to-day routine, or something that puts you in a better state, or something that when you get down kind of bounces you back up? Or a lot of people go for a morning routine or stuff like that. Do you have something that you do on a regular basis to improve your life?
So yeah, I think like a lot of people identify personal development and things like that as listening to a ton of motivational videos and a ton of self-help books and things like that. But I think personal development can be something as simple as like learning a new recipe, or I don't know, watching a documentary that then further educates yourself. Like, I don't think people should limit this personal development box to, okay, I have to read, I have to listen to this podcast. Like, be a bit kind to yourself. Like, it's okay to not read every day. Something that I've actually started doing, it's only been this past like couple of weeks or few weeks that I've actually started getting up early. Before I'd get up, like, I'm very lucky that I've always lived maybe like a 10-15 minute drive from my work. So I'd get up 15 minutes before I need to leave, jump in the shower. Like, I don't wear makeup anyway, jump in the shower, get dressed and go straight to work. I've now started getting up an hour and 15 minutes before I need to leave.
And
And
how's the
I'll
difference?
take my time. It's such a big difference. Like, I know it sounds so stupid, but like, I don't even have to do anything productive. Like, I might get up and actually make myself a nice breakfast. Like, having a good breakfast before you start your day is such a difference. Not just having a croissant that you've grabbed and ran out the door with, or a lazy banana or something. Like, I made myself like eggs on toast for a few days of the week, and like, I love food. Food makes me happy. Food is my happy place. And doing that every morning.
I have to cut you off there. We'll jump into that topic right away because I love it. But the other day I saw your picture on Instagram where you did the toast with the marshmallow inside. I was like, wow,
Yes.
like I want to eat that now.
It
And
was so good.
I showed it to Dea. I was like, look at this. And she's like, what's that? And I'm like, it's I first thought it was ice cream because it looked like
Yeah.
vanilla and chocolate melting. Then I read your description. It was like marshmallow. And she's like, yeah, nice.
It's like a s'more. It's like a s'more in a
Yeah.
toasty. But yeah, like, I think find things that make you happy and do them every day. But or try to do them every day. But don't beat yourself up if you can't. And I think it's so important to be kind to yourself, because so many people will beat themselves up. Oh, I didn't do my reading today, or oh, I didn't do this or that or the other, and then they fall off the wagon completely.
Yeah.
So like, broaden your horizons, be kinder to yourself, get up early. It doesn't have to be early. I say early. My early is 8 o'clock in the morning. Other people's early is 5 o'clock in the morning. I could not get up at that time unless it's for a flight. And even then, they're still a stink faced, you know? So yeah, like there doesn't even necessarily have to be a lot of effort put into doing something that makes you happy. Like I think something that I actually learned while I was going to counselling was setting time aside to partake in self-care. Like run yourself that hot bath, read that book that you've wanted to read for years, paint your nails if you're so inclined, do that face mask, like little things that are minimal effort but make you feel warm, that bring you joy.
Yeah.
Do it. That will make such a difference. And start caring less about what people think. Like I spent so much of my youth worrying about, oh, but what if so and so thinks this, and what if so and so thinks that? Who gives a shit? I guarantee you remember more. Like, this is going to sound bad, but people are selfish. People don't give a shit about you and what you're doing. They're too busy worrying about how people are perceiving them to worry about you and how you're perceived.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, give less of a shit.
I agree on that one. It took me a while, but yeah. I'm not into like a lot of these self-care routines, but now and then Dea comes over and she's like, you know what, we should do like a spa treatment. And my first reaction is like, why do I have to do this, you know? But then I always give in, because I developed that mindset of like, yeah, expose yourself to new things, like go and reward yourself sometimes, take it easy sometimes, like it doesn't always have to be like extreme hustle mode, like, you know, and it always turns out great, like having fun, you know, relaxing. It just gives you more energy for other stuff, and you, in the end, you get basically more productive. Right now I'm reading a book called Hyper Focus, and the guy there talks about how to focus more and harder on stuff and get better results.
Yeah.
And that's for like the first 2 chapters, and then like the next few chapters where I'm on right now is called Scatter Focus. It's what everybody shuns upon, is like, oh no, you're not focused, right? He says that's natural and that's what the brain is supposed to do, and he encourages that. He's like, take more breaks during work. He's like, work for an hour, then take a 5 to 15 minute break, and do that after every hour, and you'll be a lot more productive. He's like, maybe you should kind of like shorten your lunch break and stay a little bit longer during work, but with more breaks you actually do get more done. And he's explaining like brain cycles and stuff like that, but in the end, that's kind of one of his stronger points that he's saying to people, like this small break. He says it doesn't have to be like a 2-hour break, just 5 minutes, go out there, like go on the fresh open air, come back, and that's it, you know, and it works.
That's something I identify with a lot. I have a very short attention span, so that's why kind of organization for me is so important. But yeah, like I get
You're
so
like
distracted
me, you live
so
on sticky
easily.
notes and to-do lists, right?
Oh, good God, yes, it drives people insane. Honestly, like if I don't write it down as well, it won't be remembered and it won't happen. But what were we? Oh yeah, also I think a really big thing for motivation is work out when your most productive is in the day. So like for me, I tend to be more productive in the afternoon because I know it's home time. I'm excited. I get to go home and watch TV and put my comfy clothes on and get out of my suit. So I'm more productive. I'm like, yes, go. So my more tricky tasks, I tend to put them more towards the end of the day. But also ease yourself into it. Set a few easier tasks before you dive in for that hard task. Ease your way into it. I think by being able to, like, I'm one of these people who gets off on ticking those boxes. Like half the time I will write things that I've already done so I can tick them off and feel better. I think doing that as well is like, do you know what? I've already achieved quite a lot today. I can keep going. If I can do that much with this time, then this is not going to take that much time either.
Do you have a to-do list for to-do lists, like sort to-do list number 1, reschedule to-do list number 2, add this to do on to-do list 4?
This is it. No, to be fair, I found Keep is a lifesaver. I have an Android phone and there's Keep on it, and I have about 3 different shopping lists. I have like a Christmas shopping list, birthday, food shopping list, and like Donald's on that food shop list. So it makes life so much easier.
Do you do like goals lists and achievements lists or dreams lists or stuff like that?
I used to, and I found that it personally didn't work necessarily for me. I find that, again, like we were saying earlier, I have quite a scatterbrain. I get very distracted very easily. So writing down, if I put one thing down, I'm like, that's not enough. I need to write more. I need to do more. I need to do more. That's always me. I need to do more. There's not enough on my plate. Keep it coming. It's probably why my portions are so big. But but I think I got distracted there. Like for me at the moment, I have one goal in mind for the next year. I have the goal of getting on a course for kitchen design to further improve my design skills.
Nice.
That is my goal for the next year. Now I need to save money up to do that course and then complete it. So I know in my head, I'm going to do that. It doesn't matter if I write it on a piece of paper. It doesn't matter if I write it on my mirror and wake up and look at it every day. Like, again, I've bought into that before. Like when I was doing door to door, I had this mirror and I had a load of shite written on it. I had a load of motivational quotes, and there's a story about, is it Chris Redgrave, Steve Redgrave? You know, the famous rower, the Olympic rower. He's won the Olympics like 5 times for Team GB. Basically, one of the stories that we were told in our morning juice session, which is like motivational before you go out to the field. He's prepping for the 5th Olympics and his family's all like, what are you doing? You're old. Like, even though he wasn't old. But you're to be old to be doing the Olympics, like you've won on a high, you should leave it at that. And anyway, he's meeting with the team, and the team, they make this decision. If it's going to make the boat faster, whatever they do, if it's going to make the boat faster, they'll do it. If it's not, it's not done. So focusing on those negative issues and those negative thoughts, is that going to make the boat faster? Nah, no, it's not. Him getting up at 4 o'clock in the morning to go training, is that going to make the boat faster? Yeah, of course it is. He's getting up, he's going training. So anyway, this goes on and on and on, and the whole time the team and his mentality is, will this make my boat go faster? And in the end, they win the Olympics, they get the gold, and it's by half a second or something really, really minute. So every decision that they made that possible. So I realize I've gone off on a massive tangent there, but like I used to have like, will it make my boat go faster written on my mirror, along with a load of like ET quotes and things like that. And going back to what you were saying earlier, the whole fake it until you make it, I felt like I was faking it. I felt like I was forcing myself to do it, and I'm one of these people that if you try and force me to do something, I'm not going to do it. I'm very stubborn. I have to think I'm doing it for me in order to do it. Yeah. If you can make me think I'm doing it for me, then I'll do it. Like, that's fine. But if you make it sound like I'm trying to do it for you, probably not going to do it.
It won't work. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So, yeah, find things that work for you. Don't necessarily just do things because everyone else is doing it. Like, just because it works for other people doesn't mean it will work for you. So find your own niche little motivation, find your own little vibe. Like, just because something works for me or something works for you doesn't mean it's going to work for other people. So, and it will take time, and it will take practice, and it will take a few trial and error sessions to work out what actually works, but it will be worth it in the long run.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I agree. Well
You can
said.
it.
Nadia, before we go into the last part of the Uncle Gold podcast, tell the people that are still watching and listening, where can they find you? You mentioned the blog earlier and Instagram. Are those two the main ones?
Yeah, so I am on TikTok as well. I have a few comedy posts on TikTok.
Oh,
A
really?
lot of lip syncing, a lot of dancing. Oh yeah, it's horrendous. My Instagram is The Layman's Cook.
Mm-hmm.
I have a normal account as well, but that's not as good. I'm just grabbing my TikTok. It's so bad I don't know my TikTok handle off by heart. Nadia L Woods, as in
Mm-hmm.
Nadia and then the letter L Woods.
Mm-hmm.
They're the main ones, I think. Instagram and TikTok. I'm on Twitter. I don't use it. I'm on Facebook. That's mostly for marketplace.
Has e-commerce gone up, Nadia? Have you
Yeah.
gone on shopping sprees during lockdown?
Oh yes. I love a good
Amazon
thrift
making
shop.
millions.
Oh yes. No. spending, not selling.
Yeah. All right. I'll make sure to add you on. I have you on Instagram. I'll make sure to add you on TikTok. I haven't been creating in a while now. Kind of got lazy on that front, but I still love watching it. It's super entertaining. They have a really good algorithm, and it's super fun.
Yeah.
Tell us about the blog.
The blog is The Layman's Cook. I started it a few years back.
Mm-hmm.
It's good for, I do a mix of making my own food and posting recipes and things like that, but also recommending places to eat and where to go, and I suppose kind of reviews almost on how they do.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, if you like food, if you like good pictures of food, if you like bad pictures of food.
Check it out.
Hey, not everything's perfect. It's okay to show that.
Is there
Yeah,
a certain type of food that you're focusing on most, or is it kind of variety?
variety. Again, I don't have the focus to pick one food and stick to just cooking.
Cool,
No,
cool.
I think my latest thing is bad web biscuits.
Mm-hmm. All right.
So I make these biscuits, and I recently bought a stamp that I can like change the lettering on. So like I did a congratulations booby, which is what I call my boyfriend. I did a birthday bitch. I did slay
For
bitch.
Ashling.
Like yeah, and my other friend Joanne. And then my other friend Jean. I did birthday bitch. So yeah, bad word biscuits I think are my latest
Like an
thing
invention.
at the moment. Yeah,
Nice,
that's
nice.
it.
We should do a biscuits and powerballs crossover and do like a special promotion
Bake
package.
along.
Yeah, sell it in a 5 kg box. Like buy your month's provisions. Like you never know when phase 2 of lockdown will come in. Like make sure you have your sweets stocked up.
Oh my God. I don't think my biscuits would last that long. I mean, I don't know how many people or how many biscuits you can eat in one sitting.
I'm sure there's a YouTube video where somebody tried to like break the world record on it, like eating 10,000 biscuits in 24 hours or something like that.
2 hours. Yeah.
I remember someone trying to eat. What was that challenge that we did in during the break?
Oh, the
It was something
pancake
very
challenge.
dry.
It was me, and it was the pancake challenge.
Pancakes.
I had to eat, I think it was like 15 or 20 pancakes in like 10 minutes, and they were smothered in peanut butter. And I wasn't allowed to drink through it. And yeah, no, it took me a while to look at pancakes again.
Looking at a pancake, having a small former PTSD, like
Yeah,
starting
that's
to
it,
shake. Like,
twitching
oh
out.
God, no! Like, give me a
You
glass of
can't make me
water.
go back. Don't make me go back, please. Yeah. No, I can safely say I've eaten pancakes since then, and I've been okay.
You're over
I
your
didn't
pancakes
switch
drama.
out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. So Nadia, give us some parting words for the last part of the Uncle Gold podcast. For everybody tuning in and listening, who's trying to improve their lives, trying to get better at stuff, trying to improve their careers. Do you have some parting words that will kind of like maybe motivate or be something to kind of finish off this podcast strong?
Yeah, be kind to yourself. Give less of a shit about what other people think. Don't take things personally. Be the best you. Just be you. Don't even be the best you. If you want to be the worst you, be the worst you. You do you. That's it.
Awesome.
Four great sound bites for you there.
Awesome. I agree with that. I agree that, and think that a lot more people should jump on that train. It will, in my opinion, solve a lot of problems a lot easier. Like we set too many barriers for ourselves in our minds and our hearts, and between people and between the things that we do. And I think with your words, Nadia, will definitely change some people's minds and make their lives better.
Hopefully, fingers crossed.
Fingers crossed. Yeah.
I hope even if I've helped one person, do you know what? That's one more than was yesterday.
Yeah, exactly. I kind of live by that motto, and I try to implement that in every video. And everybody who's still listening, good job on making it through the whole podcast.
Thank you.
We know that attention spans are getting shorter, and everybody who's here now is definitely a champion in attention spans. So thank you very much for listening to me and Nadia. Nadia, thank you very much for coming to the Uncle Gold podcast and taking the time and talking about all these cool topics. I would love to have you on again sometimes, maybe in a few months, to dive deeper into some of the topics. And yeah.
Thank you so much for having me on, Borna. And yeah, thanks guys for listening. I hope my accent hasn't driven you too mad.
Your accent's great. I love it. Thank you, Nadia, and looking forward to the next episode. Everyone, leave us a comment how you like this podcast. I would love to hear some feedback on which of the topics resonated most with you. What are some of the things that you maybe did in your career, and what are some of the things that you're going to do based on what Nadia told us today? And definitely tune in for the next podcast. I'll see you in the next one, guys. Have a great day.
Bye.
The Uncle Gold Podcast.